Fantastic. So I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for coming along. We're going to cover President's nominee, and I'm in a similar situation. I'm the DG nominee. So for those that I have not met, and there's a couple there that I haven't met, I've been to a number of clubs. I am the district governor nominee for the new district, which we will, and you'll have the pleasure of being the first club presidents for District 9815 on the 1st of July 2024. So just a little over a year. So again, I want to thank you. It's great that your clubs, not a lot of clubs, you know, we have president-elects. We don't necessarily always have president nominees, but the focus tonight, I really just want to go through some of the, you know, the nominee year, and July 1, you'll be president-elects, is a year of planning, okay? So what I'd like to do is give you a checklist of things that you should consider, and you should be, you know, working with your president and with your board. And I'm going to open up, I've got a couple of slides. I'm not going to, this is not death by PowerPoint, it's more of a discussion. And but I'd like to go through the checklist. So you get yourself prepared. I'm also going to talk a little bit about where we are with the merger. So we're pretty well progressed. I mean, we've obviously got another year of 9810 and 9820. So we've got Ian Ballantyne for 9810, and we've got Linda Humphreys for 9820. So I've actually just come from a 9820 event this afternoon. So and they are working together to try and make this as smooth a merger as we can. So it's not going to be a big bang in 1st of July. We're actually going to start to bring together what we believe we can bring together. So bringing programs together, bringing various things. So again, it's not going to be just expect everything to happen on the 1st of July. And then I'm very briefly going to talk a little bit about regionalisation. And the good thing about regionalisation, it really doesn't affect clubs. It's more, again, about the region. And you probably heard that this pilot has been approved by Rotary International. It was approved last month. And we're going to, the pilot will be kicking off from the 1st of January next year. So I'm just going to share a little bit on that as well. So is everybody okay with that? Is that what you signed up to hear, to listen to? Okay, good. All right. So let me start. So let me give you a little bit of a brief for those that have not met me. I'm from 9820, and it's actually worked pretty well because I'm from 9820. So will be DG in your year. And then we have Peter Bem, who is the district governor nominee designate from 9810, obviously from Noble Park. Can't remember the other name of anyway. So he'll be following me. So him and I will be working, and it's nice because what he knows about 9810, I can leverage off him, and vice versa with 9820. So I'm from the Rotary Club of Greater Dandenong Endeavour Hills. I've been in Rotary just on 12 years. I've been a president. I've done a number of roles in the district. I was the ROMAC chair for 5 years. It was an amazing experience. Brought out 2 young little girls from Timor-Leste with life-threatening illnesses, took them to Royal Melbourne, and one actually went to Peter Mac as well. So did that for 5 years. I was the District International Service Chair, and I learned everything from David Alexander, who's the guru, as you know, in terms of, well, the foundation and obviously international projects. And of the last few years, I've been the Assistant Governor for 8 of our clubs. So our district goes from Dandenong, basically keeps going east, goes down through the peninsula, down to Sorrento, and then it keeps going east through all, South Gippsland, Central Gippsland, West, and obviously East Gippsland, which goes to the border. So so we're bringing the two districts together. So that's a little bit of my history, and I'm really excited. I like, and I'm all about change. I like change management. Rotary needs to change. We need to clearly, our membership is not where it should be. And I think we have opportunities in terms of merging district, and we also have opportunities in terms of regionalisation. So that's a little bit of my background, and hopefully I'm spending most of my, at least where I can, with club visits to 9810 Club. So if you would like, oh, hi Jan, how are you? I'd please, if you can fit, if you want me to come along to one of your meetings, just send me an invite, and I'll attempt to get there on whatever night you meet. So I've been to a number of the clubs, and I really enjoy going out to clubs as well. So any questions on any of that? Okay. How many of you have been, is this your second or maybe third time as president? Are you all newbies in terms of taking on the role? Jenny, I know. Rob?
My first time.
Very good. Kelly?
First time, yes.
First time, welcome, yeah. Jan, I know is first time.
No, I'm not. Oh, sorry. Wrong Jan.
Oh, sorry, Jan Cooks. It's yours. Okay, Jan, you've been.
Yeah, I was president at MASH, and I'm president-elect for Mitcham this year.
Mitcham this year. Fantastic. Very good. Jan Bernie, I know, is the first time with Upper Yarra. And who else? I've got to scroll through these.
Monique,
I know, is first time, right, Monique? Very good. And Alan, Don?
Yeah, I'm the first recycle president of our club after 53 years.
Wow, that's a great.
So we've done well.
That's very good, very good. So what year were you president?
Oh, about 10 years ago.
10 years ago, okay. Things have probably changed a little bit, so yeah.
A little bit, yep.
So welcome. So I'm really keen to work with you guys, and again, any help or assistance I can provide, it's only a phone call or email or whatever, okay? So what I thought I would do was just put up a little bit of a checklist of things that you need to start thinking about, especially as you're all going through the changeover period in the next month or so, and then you'll become president-elect. So let me just share my screen. Hopefully can you all see that? Is it coming up? Yep. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So what I've done, I've been speaking to Ian about this as well, because obviously I think he had a session just before this one on the president, the incoming presidents for your clubs. So he and I worked through, and I know this looks like a long list, but these are just some ideas, and they're probably things that you're already considering, but I just put them down and we can discuss them. So the first thing I think, and we know that all clubs pretty much have their AGMs in November, based on the requirement of the Constitution, and it's important that you as your president-elects are actually on the club board. Okay, it should be in your Constitution that your directors or your officers should consist of obviously your president, your immediate past president, and it should also be the president-elect. So please make sure that you are on the board, because there's not much you can do if you're not invited to the board meetings each month. So that's one thing. The other one is, I think it's important too that you spend a little bit of time understanding how your club operates. And what I mean by that is have a look at your club constitution and the bylaws. Now, I know they're pretty dry documents, but they do include some pretty important information. So again, you know, how is your board constructed? What's the quorum for meetings? What kind of meetings you need to have? Probably one of the more important ones is again in the area of sorry, I'm just trying to open my constitution here. It is when you get in, unfortunately, if you may get involved in disputes and mediation. Okay, so please make sure you've read that, because again, you are all incorporated associations. You have the legal, entity, and basically your club rules are your club constitution and your bylaws. So it's really important. The other thing I just mentioned too, there was a note that just came out recently. I know it came out in 9820. I'm pretty sure it would have come out to you guys as well, or to your presidents. There is a new club standard constitution that has been drafted by David Whiting, who's a legal practitioner in 9800, and he's come up with a template, and the template is expected to be implemented at all clubs in 9810 and 20, and it covers, and clearly the constitution has to have the latest Rotary International rules in there as well. Now, there was a what do we call it? It takes into account the latest Council of Legislation that happened in 2022. So the suggestion is that your president needs to either have a special meeting of your members to approve this new constitution, or you do it at your AGM. Okay, so and again, you need to make sure that you give all your members 21 days notice of what the new constitution includes. There's not a lot of changes. In fact, what they're saying, it's almost a boilerplate. You can pretty much put your Rotary Club name on it. Obviously, you need to read through it, but it pretty much is standard. And the whole idea now is trying to get standardisation across all clubs. So, is everybody okay with that? Have you received that message, any of you? Or did you get that message from the new club standard?
No, not as yet. Nope.
Not as yet. Okay, well, I'll make sure that.
The current presidents have certainly been informed of that.
Okay, thanks, Kylie. Okay, all right. So
it was discussed at the last president's meeting, so I would assume that the further discussions will happen on the 19th of May. So.
Fantastic. Thanks, Kylie. Yep. So you just need to follow that up with your presidents and just they've got to make a determination of whether they'll run it through the AGM. I think that's probably the cleanest and the easiest way, rather than having a general meeting of your members. So that's the change. The other thing that it's really important, the third bullet here, is go through again on the district website, have a look at some of the district policies. The ones in particular that I've called out are the codes of conduct policies, the bullying and harassment, the child safe policies. Again, you need and again, this is calling preparing for your role, so it's really important. And you can do some of this in the Learning Centre. There's quite a bit of stuff in terms of the one I'm missing there is conflict resolution as well. There's quite a number of courses you can do on conflict resolution. So I just make sure that you're familiar and you understand, and clearly the child safe policies now have gone through another iteration. There's a whole new Victorian set of legislation. There's a whole set of new standards, and the standards are very, very onerous in terms of how it affects, volunteer organisations like ourselves and the way we have to, so it's not just about what it's written. It's actually now the Child Safe expects that our culture should also include the way we deal with children and people under 18. So again, if you haven't been through that training or have a read of it yourself, and I'm pretty sure. Again, I know that 9820 has quite a number. We have a YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure you'll have a YouTube channel where you can pick up some of these courses that were run, in the last 6 to 12 months. Any questions on any of that? Does that make sense?
Kylie, when was that notice sent out to the presidents?
In relation to updating the constitution and adopting
Yes.
the Council of Legislation, it's been over 6 months.
Right, we haven't received, we haven't
So
heard.
early this year.
Yeah, and it might be because it might be that some clubs have already adopted those new standards, for
Right,
the new updated constitution. But I'll follow that up with Ian and
Thanks,
Ken.
Kylie.
Can you send me a copy?
Me too.
Box Hill
please.
Burwood adopted it a week ago.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Mitcham haven't even heard about it, so if you could send it through, please, Kylie.
Yes,
Happy to, Jan. Yep.
you can send it through,
Thank you.
Kylie. Yes, I presume Gabby's seen it, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. And I will say in relation to child safety standards, Ken Miriams is talking about that on tomorrow night. But certainly there'll be an article in the next Inspire magazine talking about that very thing.
Yeah, and I think Kylie, I like the idea that you can pick and choose sessions in your assembly, the 9810 assembly, and I've signed up for quite a few because I want to upgrade my knowledge in terms of what 9810 does versus 9820. So I'd encourage you to, where you can, to sign up and do any of those areas, especially the child safe type sessions as well. Okay. The next bullet, I'm assuming everybody here has a My Rotary account, right? So everybody is on that. I know we still have clubs that have members that don't, they don't get all the, but it's a really important one for you because when you become president, you're basically going to have, when you go into My Rotary, your club, all the metrics, all your plans will be there, for your citation awards and things like that. So again, I've got I go in quite regularly, but just navigate yourself around that a little bit in terms of knowing what you've got access to and what you need to have. So that's an important one as well. I think my biggest takeaway, and you're probably doing this already, is I see this continuity of leadership is so important in Rotary. We've gone to the days where we just bring in presidents and they just throw out everything that's been done and, restart and come up with their own, ideas and suggestions and plans. Really is important that we take the best of what's been done and continue it. Okay. So we don't want members being, we're going to have different focuses clearly, but it's important that, so and this is what I'm doing is I'm shadowing now. I've got two of everything. So I'm shadowing both obviously Ken and Paul. Now it's Linda. And so the G train for me is, and I'm using that for knowledge and I'm using it for getting ideas. And so again, we're not going to basically throw everything up and, 9815 needs to be a continuation of what's been best in class for both districts. That's what I'm all about. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about taking the best of the best from both districts. Okay. So, and again, and I know you're working with your current club presidents, but understand the status of the club, the challenges, the goals, projects. And again, I get access to a lot of your Facebook. You guys are doing some great work, so it's fantastic. And see what will extend into your term. Okay, so to me, continuity is really, really important. and leadership is really important. I'm really pleased and I'm really thankful that you guys put your hand up, because club presidents is one of the most important roles in Rotary. It's really the lifeblood of how the club grows and continues. Is everybody okay? Is everybody working with their club presidents? And very good.
No,
Um,
I definitely am not.
You're not.
No way. I am like so oblivious to so much that you're discussing, because I'm just a worker bee, and my choice wouldn't probably be to president, but I know that I'm part of a club and I have to, keep growing. And so yeah, this is all scaring the shit out of me, actually.
So which club are you from? I can't see you.
Emerald and District.
I
Yeah.
think I met you at the Puff and Billy when you,
Oh yeah, they're part of Workmanship, or
yeah, the one you do the kids run.
oh, Kids
Puff
Fun
and
Run.
Billy. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So anyway, that's my thoughts, but I'm finding this
Yeah,
very
I have met
valuable.
you, Kelly, before. Yeah, I remember having
Yeah.
a chat with you, and you're pretty new, right? You're pretty new to Rotary and pretty new to.
I guess it's been about 8 years. So,
Oh, okay, okay.
but I'm not on the board. I've never been on the board. I do not like being on the board. So, anyway, that's my story. But this is all very valuable. So please continue.
No, that's okay. And again, Kelly, you can always call me, and if you've got any, that goes for everybody. This is we're going to be a team. We're going to be a team.
Kelly, you've got a very strong club. You won't have any problem. You'll get a lot of help.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's pretty much.
absolutely.
That's right. It's a very strong club.
Yeah.
All right. So where were we? And again, this goes without saying. It's really important, and I'm pretty sure you do this. You talk with your club members. What are they enjoying from your club experience? Is there? And again, I always argue. I mean, Rotary has, our membership. We know where our membership has been declining, but it's actually not because we're getting new members. We've actually grown our membership. What it is, it's about retaining our members. And a lot of them, and there's lots of surveys, they are leaving clubs because they're not meeting the needs of the individuals involved. And this is about, again, clubs do surveys, but it's about the common touch of basically sitting down with people and seeing what they're interested in, and whether in fact, there's so many Rotary ideas and projects come from one individual. I mean, you can name so many of them. Okay, so it really, really is important to understand, again, about the health of the club is about the health of the members in the club. So again, you're in a very good position as president-elects to go around and again to be able to talk to each of the members. And I know that members, it's not about necessarily coming to meetings as well. I think some of the older Rotarians, it was all about attendance, now it's about really participation. We should be looking at, because in our club, we do quite a lot of community activities and works. They don't particularly want to come to a dinner meeting. They just want to come and help out. And we record that, and their days that they, and so it's understanding, what clubs and a lot of the younger members too, a lot of younger members don't necessarily want to sit and, have meals and stuff like that. They also want to be active as well. So active participation is a really important one. And Rotary is measuring that, measuring the hours and stuff like that. So it's a very important thing to consider. Everybody okay with
Can I
that?
just make one comment?
Yep.
You've touched on My Rotary, which is a great program. A lot of information in it. A lot of information in there for new members and older members. But one of the more important roles in there is the executive secretary. The executive secretary does a lot of information of Rotarians coming in, going out, goal setting and all this sort of gear. So that's a role for somebody that understands what's going on in Rotary
Yep.
and how they can navigate the site.
So how many clubs have executive secretaries? Do any? I know our
Yeah,
club
we do.
does. You do, yeah. Any other club?
Yep.
We do. Yes. Well, I know who mine is. I don't know if that's her official title, but Emma Clark will be helping me all the way.
Yeah, no. A good secretary is probably one of the most important people, or the most important roles within a Rotary club. They as you said, they pretty much know how to source things out. They're able to follow things up. So again, my advice is when you, and again, I don't know how many of your, some members change on the board, but it's very, very important to have the right club secretary and have a very good treasurer as well. They're two really important roles in terms of stewardship for the organisation and also just basically understanding, what needs to get done within a club. So yep, good point. Now the next one is really important. This is where is about training, and I would encourage you while you're in your president-elect year to get onto the Learning Centre. The Learning Centre is now rich with courses. So you can look it up you can do it by role. So you can just go into, president-elect, or you can go into a leadership type role. And there is some incredible courses that you can do. The ones that I have just listed down here, club leadership. I think you should be doing, again, I'm going to move this thing across. I can't see the side of my slide here. So let me just move that down a bit. Club president basics, which I think is a really important one. It basically, and they're really interactive too now. They're not sort of, there is, they're quite well designed now. Another one that I would really encourage is be a vibrant club, because that's ultimately what we want. We want vibrancy in clubs. There's ones on how to become more of an inclusive club, diversifying your club. There's a whole lot. So, and again, I'm clearly in the training mode as well. And in fact, I've got to run training in my district governor-elect here. But I'm just really taking as many of these courses as I can, and I can tell you they are really well worth the effort of doing that. So the other thing is we will be having district training. So you will be trained as president-elects. I have a note here somewhere. I've just put down some.
Colin, if I could just say, this is Jan. I think Ian sent out an email very early in this calendar year and he suggested getting onto My Rotary. The trick is to get to the right place in the Learning Centre. For me, that was anyway. Once I found it, I pretty much completed most of the things that he asked. Initially, it was challenging because you didn't know how it really worked, but it was interactive, you're right. And most things that you've discussed today, I am familiar with, not 100%. It's always good to hear it again, like the standard constitution, and absolutely this huge emphasis on anything to do with children. So look, it's worthwhile. It does take a bit of time. Several hours, I would say. You don't do it all at once, though.
No, you don't do it once, no.
And lastly, the vibrancy thing, the club vibrancy, I actually want to use exactly what's in that as a tool for my own club. So what I'm getting at is, even though I've done it as a president, much of the stuff in some of those courses would be really valuable to share with your club, with your members, to engage them and motivate them. That sense.
Yeah, you know, the vibrant club one is excellent. It's been around a little while, and in fact, in our district assembly, I ran a workshop on it. You know, it's even from things like meeting protocols, all those kind of things that we take for granted. Sometimes it's worth, you know, re-looking at them to see whether, in fact, you know, are they still valid? Are they really something that we want to continue on, or is it something we want to change and stuff? So, Jan, I agree with you. I think it's a really important. It's an important one that we do. So, any other?
Just to add to that, so if people were wondering what could possibly be in the club vibrancy thing, here's just a small example. Rather than having a fine session, I've got a small club, and we don't even have a sergeant to do it, or we'll put a pressure on them. But when we meet, we can either toast or say one thing that happened to us that week, or one thing that I can't exactly remember how it was, but one thing we're pleased about, or share one thing, and that's a type of flavour. That's a me kind of thing. It might not suit every president, but I thought straight away, yeah, that's something that I want to do for my president's year.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, you know, I know we've got some clubs have some sacred cows, like sergeant sessions and stuff like that. But we've got to start thinking about, does that make a lot of sense? And especially when we have guest speakers and stuff, and they've got a lot of clubs now are basically doing they're bringing their speaker in first, getting them, have the meal, and then do the Rotary bit after and I think that's a good way of doing it, not getting speakers that are giving up their valuable time sitting through sergeant fines and all that kind of stuff. I think so. Again, it's horses for courses. It's again, there's still a lot of traditional clubs out there, and again, that works, but it works only to the extent that they're growing their members and they're active in the community or active internationally or whatever they're doing in terms of we've got again, I think it's always good to have a look at what we currently look at and see what we and again, survey the members, find out whether they. I mean, I remember when I was president a number of years ago, we were still singing the national anthem, and it's got its place in that, but I didn't believe, and we did, and I was democratic, and we took a vote, and I had one Rotarian that basically said to me, Colin, if we don't sing the national anthem, I'm going to leave Rotary. So, and it's again, it's what. You've got to basically, you've got to listen to your members, but you've also got to move forward as well in terms of progressing the club and growing the club and making it attractive. So
that was like when we've had to vote to have women in Rotary as well.
Oh yeah, way back in the 70s, yeah.
Back in the old days. But there was a lot of people that said, oh, and it came from the partner side, the women's side. Yeah. I won't have my husband there if there's a woman in Rotary. And in my club, we lost 2 or 3, I think, just because of that reason. Strange as it is now.
I've heard that.
But
yeah,
in those days, very divisive. But running a club...
That insecure. Oh, that's so insecure.
It is. But running our club, we've changed it since COVID. We've done away with the sergeant sessions. We run a strict hour meeting. We have a guest speaker, either on Zoom or in person. And then we go out into the restaurant part of our venue, and we'll stay there for an hour, hour and a half, just having a chat with everybody. So that works for us.
I love that. That's a great idea. That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah. And as I say, we used to have it in the room, and after an hour and a half, the meeting finished and everybody left. Now they stay longer and talk with one another, and we always invite the partners along, and they come along at any time with us as well, and they get involved in the projects that we do. So it's great. I've only got a club of 14 members, but we jump it up once we get the partners involved. We're up to 18 and 19 members. So that's working with us, so which is great.
Very good, very good.
Can I say something? One thing I've noticed, we've been to a few clubs, things like doing toasts, that are obviously something that some clubs are very wedded to. Some clubs actually do it very nicely. I've been to one where they actually say something about about Rotary in a particular country or a particular club, and so they're using the toast as a vehicle. Others go, oh, let's toast Rotary and toast Australia Rotary, and it's actually, to my mind, meaningless if you do it like that.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something like that, I think it has to be put in a context where there is some value to it, rather than, well, we've always done this, so we keep doing it.
Or maybe we
Well,
could
This
just
is where
do both.
Rotary's got to change for the better.
No, you're right. And I went to one of our clubs celebrated their 50th anniversary. That's where this afternoon, and they did a toast to Rotary, but they put it in context of what they were doing over their 50 years with some of the great work that they've been doing. So you're right. It's all about storytelling. It's we don't do a good job of this. We do some fantastic work, but we don't do the story behind it. The visuals and some clubs are very good at it, but other clubs, they basically, they don't get the recognition, and they don't get, and so it's really, really important. And in fact, the three things that I always think, and again, I think as club presidents, membership needs to be one of your top priorities. I think foundation is another one, but the other one is public image. I think public image is really, really important. How are you perceived? Some clubs do it very well, but other clubs, you wouldn't even know they existed. I think there's a lot, we still need to do a lot of work in terms of being able to get our story across and be meaningful as well.
And that's
Very
part of joining with Traders Association, which we're involved with. We run a joint Anzac Day with the CFA, local CFA, and we get 900 to 1,000 people to that each year now. But it's a matter of getting the image of Rotary out into the community, and that's by putting up banners, signage, tents, marquees, or whatever way you want to go. We've just renewed the club uniform as well to make it more applicable for today's image rather than 20 years ago image that a few of them used to wear. So it's an all-over image that we've got to project and promote Rotary at the same time.
Fantastic. And I love your 9810 rewards program to talk about.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of hoodies and talk about getting the Rotary. It's been a really good program. So it's fantastic. But and I think the other thing is about partnerships. I think partnership is, for too long Rotary tries to do everything on their own. I think there is some really strategic partners that we can bring on board and work. I mean, clearly we don't, whether we can get co-branding or whether we can get, but we need Rotary out there. But sometimes trying to do it all on our own, we just don't have that, because we have larger clubs that can do it. Some of the smaller clubs need to leverage off other things. And the other key takeaway that I would give you too is we have to work together. We have to collaborate with other clubs. We are all pretty much, especially 98, pretty much the same community, so we don't necessarily need individual club community projects. We need to leverage best in class. You guys do some great youth I know with Daryl and that, and with the Interact and all that kind of stuff. But we need to leverage, so rather than reinvent the wheel. I mean, when I started Rotary, I had I was in business for a long, long time. I couldn't believe how isolated each of the clubs were. We had clubs down the road, and we didn't even bother to go and talk to them to find out what they were doing. It's we need to collaborate a lot better, and we need to, whether we're going to be into areas or clusters, we need to leverage off that as well. Very good.
We're starting a program. We're starting up a program now to help underprivileged kids in the local area, but we couldn't manage it on our own. So what we did, we brought in the whole cluster in Knox, and we got everybody else on board. So all of a sudden we've gone from 14 people up to about 100 plus people that will be available. So don't be afraid to go and join other clubs in other projects or get them on board on your project.
Everybody has different skills as well. So you're looking for, you're looking for the skills that you need to be able to run these kind of projects. So no, that's great. Thanks, Alan. So I'm just going to give you and again, I'm looking at the pets for later this year. So and again, remember, we're going to have in excess of 80 clubs in the new district. So it's going to be logistically going to be a challenge. We've always, in our district, we've had a challenge because of East Gippsland being hours from, from some of the Melbourne clubs. But I'm hoping to do an online pets in late November to bring, and again, that would only be probably a morning session or whatever, really high level, but a chance for, just to lay out, what's the new district going to look like, just give you some, a few thoughts and ideas. So bring the PEs together in late November. And then I'm hoping we can do, I'd like to do, and I think this is really important as we merge, that we do a face-to-face. I mean, you guys you've been fortunate. You've had president face-to-face, every quarter or whatever you do. But I'd like to have a pets in mid to late February next year, 2024, where we bring everybody together. I think that's there's a lot of value in that as well. Okay, so so you might again just put those in your, and again I'll firm up the dates. Obviously, I haven't done any of the planning yet. I've got to get some training resource and leverage off what I've been through both pets for both districts, and obviously going through both district assemblies. So I'm like a sponge at the moment. I'm soaking up what I can and leveraging and not reinventing what I need to reinvent. It's going to be going through that. So so that's the one that you probably need to think. And then obviously we'll have an assembly, which will be, and again, logistically, I don't know how whether that's going to be, you guys have been very successful in doing it online. 9820 have done it face-to-face, but logistically, I'm not sure how, because of the geographic distances and how that's going to work. So that's, it's basically still under consideration. And then obviously we will be having a district conference for 9815, which will be in late February, early March, or probably late March in 2025. So, okay, just I know we're time boxed a little bit, so I'm just go through the last of these bullets. So again, you should be working with your current club president to start looking at goals. Most goals, we should be looking at plans that, 2 or 3 years you can do. You can do things that you consistently do every year, but there's, you need to look at what you want to do. I don't know how many clubs have got a strategic plan, but there is great resources in strategic planning, both in the Learning Centre. There's some training on it as well. We've mentioned the club health check. I think that's a really important one that I believe that should be done every year. And that also gives you, when you do a SWOT analysis, I was very much into strategic planning in my working life. A SWOT is very, very important. So where are your strengths and how do you maintain those? What are your weaknesses and how do you turn them into strengths? And then obviously opportunities and then threats. So it's a, and again, I'm very much when the district does its plan, the plan will be something that will cascade down a club. So that you should see, again, it's not going to be tops down necessarily, but you'll see that, what you're doing should be consistent with where the district's heading as well. Okay. So, and most of you should know the Rotary strategic plan, the action plan. So the 4, the increasing the impact, expanding our reach, enhancing our participant engagement, and increase our ability to adapt. So again, if you need to refresh yourself, I would basically go and have a look at that. There's some really good, so they are basically the strategies, and then also have a look at where your club lines up in terms of how are you going to implement some of those objectives. Okay, so where is your club expanding its reach? You know, is it measuring and tracking some of your service projects, expanding your reach? Are we looking at new models of engagement, participant engagement? Are we reaching out? Are we reaching out to other organisations? I heard the CFA, you know, all those kind of organisations. You know, we need to open up and increase that participant engagement. And the big one is our increased ability to adapt, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, because that's really where the merger and the regionalisation strategies are heading. Yeah, so does anybody want to add anything? Is there anything else that you want to, Kylie, do you want to add anything that I know you're I've missed in terms of planning for your role?
No, I think it's just important that you listen to what's going on in your clubs. Find out what the goals are for your president-elect coming into this year ahead, and then think about where does that fit? Where do I fit into that next step? Or is that something that's working? And just gauge your clubs. Listen to the members is where I would be encouraging you to do.
One of the other things that I think you should also be looking at is where is your, we are at the moment, we don't have a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, we struggle sometimes to get president-elects. I mean, our district, we've got one person that's been the president for 4 different years. So we need to start to look at talent as well. We need to start again getting our members to do some of the, whether it's RLI, whether it's find out where their skills are, and start to look at them and start to see where they would fit. And as they go through, the way you break up your avenues of service, whether they're ready to go on the board, whether they're good team leaders, so we've got to start looking at, and I can tell you right now, whenever I go to a club, I'm always looking for people that potentially could be future leaders, and that's what you as the club president or president-elect should also be looking at. You should be looking at your succession. Succession is becoming really critical in Rotary, and it's got to the stage now under regionalisation as we're not getting people to step up. They're not putting their hands up. We know that's a demographic issue because of the ageing, but we need to attract and we need to be able to make these roles sound really enticing and really interesting. And be able to put them on their CVs as well.
So may I say something?
Sure.
I agree with absolutely everything you're saying, but I mean, sometimes we just have to remember that you're either a person that Rotary appeals to or not. There are some people like that, no matter what you do or how accommodating you are and how modern you are, they're either going to be around for 2 years or they're going to be around for 20 years. It takes a certain person to just stick at it and just you started this by saying that at this point, it's not about new members, it's about maintaining membership
Kelly, I take your point, and this is one of the big issues in Rotary, that the real danger zone is in that. So we get somebody into Rotary, and the first, within 2 or 3 years, 40 to 50% of them have left Rotary, and the main reason is not fulfilling their needs.
There's a lot of flakes, isn't there? Like, I take comfort in the fact that the people that are in it for the long run are they're in it for the right reasons. And there are a lot of people who start a lot of things and they pick it up and put it down. But yeah, it's the ones that stick. I don't know what my point is, but I think it should be mentioned that you either you are that sort of person or you're not. But again,
Yeah.
I'm interrupting, so sorry.
No, you raise good points, Kelly. It's all relevant, and it's something that Rotary is, we're trying to come to grips with this, because it's becoming, we are on a burning platform. Rotary is on a burning platform. As a service organisation, we need to change. We need to do things differently, and we need change agents. And again, when you come as, I know you've got to. Again, we've got the Rotarians that have been around for the long term, but we also need to, we need to start bringing in change that makes sense and makes it more attractive to bring in other people, whether they are, some clubs have satellites, some clubs, they've spun off as e-clubs, all kinds of different, there's organisations now, there's clubs that are cause-based. There's all these kind of, dynamics that are going on in terms of club modelling, so it's something you need to discuss in your club and get feedback. I mean, you've obviously got the older members that are probably a little bit stuck in their ways, but again, the demographics are saying that we're losing people faster than we're able to put on. So, and that's the dynamics. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, Colin, just one quick comment.
Yep.
When you get a new member in, you've got to engage them as soon as you can, and get them a mentor to explain the way how Rotary works. Otherwise, you're going to lose them straight away within 6 months.
I agree, Alan. The onboarding is, we do all this onboarding for work. I mean, I'm not sure today after post-COVID, onboarding in lots of organisations really, they don't even do it. They poor people now got to do their own training on their own, at their own cost. But onboarding in Rotary is so critical. You've got to have good mentors in the organisation. You've got to have people that are, and that's the way you can basically ensure that they can get through that first year or so to understand, and they add value too. I mean, they can see it, because I always walk, when I used to go and visit club, I always go into a club. So the first 10 minutes will make or break that experience when you walk through the door. Would you join that club or wouldn't you? And again, I've basically been through all the 98-20 clubs, and there's clubs there that need to change, or they're going to have to hand, they've either got to go and create another club, or because nobody's going to join them because they're stuck in their ways. So totally agree. All right, let me just move on to just very quickly, because I know we've only got a few minutes left. I'm just going to very quickly talk about the merger, and I'm not going to go through the detail that we're working through. There's actually a transition management team in place, and we're meeting, and there's focus groups, and you may or may not have been involved in that. But again, you all know that we're going to be a bigger district. So we're going to have, again, a mix of city and country clubs. Based on the numbers, I think there's 38 or 39 clubs in 98-20, about 45, I think, last count in 98-20. Big opportunity to grow Rotaracts. 98-10 are best in class in terms of Interact and Early Act, and we're already leveraging 98-20 from some of the great work, and that's already starting to happen. It's been a merger opportunity happening early, which is great. There's going to be leadership opportunities. Clearly, I'm got to scratch my head and work out what, who I need and what I need and where. So that's a big, and I'm basically listening and talking to people and what have you. So there's some great leadership opportunities at all levels in the district and also in regionalisation as well. Area structures are going to change. So I know you guys in 98-10 have very small clusters. We've got no choice but to probably have, whether they're called area governors or community leaders, they're going to have to move to about 8 or 9 clubs, and we're going to blend clubs. So where you're sitting on boundaries, where it makes sense, and I'm doing this analysis at the moment. We're going to mix as many 98, 10 and 20 clubs as we can. So that's happening. So that's work in progress. The DG role clearly is, I mean, my role is going to be more on strategic, and quite frankly, that's what a DG should be. If you're a senior manager in an organisation, it should be about strategy and not about we've been too internally focused and not enough external focus. We need to do that, and we need to bring in the right level of change management to make this happen. Okay, we're already seeing great combinations of programs. We've got a Ryla program coming up the end of June. Fantastic between 98, 10 and 20. Moon is going to be combined, was combined last, and it's going to be run in August. So youth is a great one where we can start to, and we're starting to work on programs that make sense. I mentioned about strategic partnerships, and something that I just put up there, you might want to think about. I know that there's some 98-10 clubs that are talking about 20 with some 98-20 clubs. I know that there's some of the city-based clubs are looking to work with country clubs, some of the projects. I mean, we know, especially in Gippsland, they've had fires, floods and what have you. Here is an opportunity where we can partner and work. And but again, I think it's also an opportunity to reach out, go outside, your 98-10 boundary and start to talk about it. And I'm here. I can, I'm happy to introduce and get you involved and have joint meetings or whatever it happens to be. I think joint meetings, I mean, I know Jenny, your club and my club, we had joint meetings. We've been together. I've done that with Noble Park, and there's a few others as well. So again, have a think about that as well. But I think it's really good. I think the redistricting or merging is a great opportunity to bring in best practices and start to really leverage on strengths. Okay, so that's really important. So the last couple of minutes, and I don't really want to talk about this in a great amount of detail, but regionalisation, I know you probably had a couple of emails. That's about pretty much the latest one was that there was a business case tabled at the last Rotary International board meeting in April. The board approved the business case. So we've now been given the okay for Zone 8. So Zone 8 is Australia, New Zealand and the Pacific Islands. There's actually 15 nations in Zone 8. And the pilot will commence officially from January next year, 2024. The pilot will run for 3 years, and we're now into implementation phase. So you will start to see things, but the good thing is there's a minimal impact on clubs. So at this stage, it's mostly about handovers between the district and the region, and that look, it's a whole session in itself, and at this stage, it's still, the ink hasn't dried. There's a lot of work going on. I might spend a lot of my time in regionalisation meetings, but I can, the clubs need to change, but they will not be significantly impacted by what comes out of regionalisation. The whole thing about regionalisation is providing better resources for clubs, not having to, second guess where you can get, help on an international project or whatever it happens to be. There'll be a regional focus on providing clubs with all kinds of resources that they need to run their clubs more effectively and so forth. So I'm going to leave that one on the table. I don't really, because that's probably an hour or 2 hours on its own. So, okay. Is there any questions? I want to really thank you guys for giving up your Sunday evening. Please, has everybody got my email and phone number? And
Colin, can you hear me?
Yep.
I've got a question, and probably not necessarily take up everybody's time, but when you talked about, did I hear a pets in November and then a pets in February? And I thought that we did do a Zoom meeting, that's 9810, a pets earlier this year. So I thought pets was once a year. Am I wrong, or have I misheard?
Well, it can be. Some districts run pets because, again, even when we get into the new Rotary year, there's still, we haven't got all the president-elects in place. And that happens every single year. So what we tend to do, and I haven't, we basically just do a very brief, pets introduction. We've done that. I'm not exactly sure again what's happened in 9810, but we've done that. We've had them in clusters. We've had the district governor elect has gone out and visited the various presidents in a cluster type arrangement, done them on Zoom. Look, it's still I haven't, this is just my ideas at the moment, Jan, so I haven't finalised, but there'll be pets in February, and that will be, it'll be a day, whether we do it online, I would like to do it face to face, because I think it's really important that you guys meet your equivalents in the old district 9820. So I've just got to work out, our district did one where we stayed overnight. We ran Saturday and then we into Sunday afternoon. I've just got to work through all that. I've got to talk to people and just see what makes sense and what works. But just put in your diary at the moment there, tentatively, there could be just a Zoom on for pets in November, but the proper pets training will happen in February, late February. So, because in late February, because again, we don't know we know who the Rotary president will be, but we don't know the theme. We don't know all of that kind of stuff. So all of that becomes available come February next year. Okay, so.
Colin, did you want to stop sharing? So that
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I will. Yep.
That pre-pets. So certainly, their president nominees are each year the DG will bring their PEs together. And it's usually that conversation in November about these are the things that you might need to put into place in preparation and the planning and the calendar and the like. So there's usually a touch base towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I still haven't got a trainer yet either. So these are all I've got a big laundry list of roles that I have to fill. Okay, so at the moment but all I'm doing is soaking it all up. I'm looking at both. I'm attending a lot of the district assembly for 90 because I want to look at this model versus the model that we did a couple of weeks ago in 9820. So
look, I think, could I just say, Colin, I think that it's great that you've taken the time to join us and to put you on the schedule so that everyone could meet and great with you.
Thanks, Riley.
It'll be the start of their journey with you as their leader, and as you lead us into the new district, because there's some wonderful opportunities as we work together. And Riley is one project, Moona, some of those youth projects, but also some of those community projects that some of our clubs have supported in relation to the floods and the fires. So it's really about bringing us together as a greater community, I think. So, and some of these things you won't have answers to because we haven't encountered them yet. So
that's right. Yeah,
Amazing
and it's
job, Colin.
it's all about impact as well. So it's about let's have impactful projects that we can actually go out and sell and really publicise. I think it's really important. So
and Colin, sorry, Trish, it's just a reminder that we're very fortunate that, and it won't stop with you, obviously, once you come on board, is that there's so much support around the district, and certainly 9810 have, and so I will reiterate that the TechCom team is around in its current form for anybody that wants help with anything. They really just need to email us or call us, and if we can't help you, we'll find someone that does, and that won't stop obviously with Colin. So whilst your
team, Trish, is amazing. You're
thank you,
fantastic. So thanks everybody. I really, and please, if you've got any questions or you want me to come out and visit your club, just drop me a line and I'll make myself available. So, and I look forward to working with you all. So.
And Colin, I'll share with the group who have registered today a copy of your presentation. So if you could forward that to me,
I'll do that.
we'll
Yep.
send that to those, and that we'll put
Thank
the call out
you.
to get in touch further if you have any other questions. So
Thanks
be
for
great.
facilitating, Kylie, too. Yeah.
always happy to do facilitation.
Great job,
Nice friend.
Colin.
Thanks.
No
Yeah.
worries. I better switch the
Yeah.
recording off too.
Don
Something.
has a
Oh,
question for you, Colin, I think. But
Sorry, yeah.
others, feel free to
Lovely,
leave us.
goodbye.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Don. Yes.
Oh, well.
Oh,
Thanks.
thanks, Colin.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye.
Thanks.
I've just got to switch this recording off too, I think. Somewhere.
It was really useful, Colin. Thanks, darling.
Oh,
Really
no worries,
great.
Kelly. Good to
Yeah.
see you again. Yeah.
now,
Yeah, you
Kelly,
too.
I can, Kelly, before you go,
Yeah.
and Colin will figure out the recording. I think the great thing about you being in Emerald and District is that they have an eclectic mix of experience and knowledge.